that, and now the quotation, would you agree with me that at the center of the Christian life is a relationship with God as known in Jesus? And every word is carefully chosen. I want it to be a question that no Christian should say no to. And I've never had anybody say no to it. Think of it again. That the Christian life is about a relationship with God as known in Jesus. And they all have said yes. They've said it different ways. Some of them have said, well, yeah. And others, kind of yes. Because they're wondering where it will go. They're wondering if it's a trap question. And it's really not. And what I will say after they've said various forms of yes is, well, if we agree about that, that might give us some room to talk about our differences if you'd like to do that. It's not that it's magic, but it's a way of trying to build a bridge. And then finally, I want to conclude with the word believing. In part because believing is so important to the earlier Christian paradigm, in part because the word belief also figures in the title of this lecture series. So I want to tell you something really important and I think helpful about what has happened to the word believing in the last 300 to 400 years. And this is what I do on the handout, and here I'll basically read these sentences to you. In the 1600s, in English, of course, the meanings of the words believe and faith began to undergo a radical change. Prior to about the year 1600, and of course the 1600s are the century in which the Enlightenment begins. Okay? Galileo, more or less confirming Copernicus's hypothesis in 1608, 1610, and I don't need to detail the century for you, but this is the beginning of what we think of as modern science. Okay? Well, prior to about 1600, in English, to believe meant to be loved. And the verb always had a person as its direct object. To say, I believe you, didn't mean what we might mean, like, I think you're telling the truth or something like that. It meant, I beloved you. I plight myself to you. Almost like plighting your troth. Too bad we don't do that anymore. Okay, anyway, I'm getting carried away here. Okay, but the verb always had a person as its direct object. And so in a Christian context, the direct object was either God or Jesus. I suppose it could be Mary. I beloved Mary. I beloved Jesus. I beloved God. But basically, the direct object was always a person. And still in that time, to believe, and the word faith, meant a relationship of faithfulness, of commitment, loyalty, allegiance, and trust. Its opposites were, of course, infidelity, and what's the opposite of trust? Mistrust, anxiety. Then in the 1600s, to believe, and the word faith, began to mean believing a set of statements to be true, whether they are persuasive or not, whether they make much sense or not. I think this is the most common meaning of the word belief and even believe in modern, ordinary English today. But this is a distortion of the pre-modern and thus ancient and traditional meaning of believing and faith. It, the distortion, suggests that what God most wants from us is to believe difficult statements to be true, which would be very odd indeed. That's what I'm looking for, people who are willing to believe things that don't make a whole lot of sense. That's the distortion. And then the last sentence, rather, To believe in God and Jesus is to beloved God and Jesus. Think of what it would mean to beloved God and to beloved Jesus. And I know that many of you are already doing that, but to realize that that's what believing means. It means to center more and more deeply in God as known in Jesus. This is Christian faith. Thank you very much.